Good afternoon, Rhode Island! What a crowd. Look at this. This is amazing. Give yourselves a round of applause for standing up for democracy. My name is Aseem Rastogi, and I am the chair of Indivisible, Rhode Island. So you got the email, huh? Since November 6th, when we woke up sometime between 3 and 5 in the morning, just knowing something was off, we've lived in a state of generational panic. Let's go back in time for 1 second if we could. The year is 1972. My mother was living in Nairobi, Kenya, where she was born and raised. Just to the west of her country is a country called Uganda. My mother was 15 when Idi Amin launched his coup against the Ugandan government. He was uneducated, bumbling, and acted on impulse. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? He drove away the others. In this case, people who looked like me, known as the Asians, deporting them as the enemy within. Other countries, including Britain, supported this, as they thought communism was coming and feared its rise in Africa. My mother was 15 years old, an Asian living one country over. When the deportees and victims of a violent coup boarded the trains, many of them, after only 1 day to get their belongings together and leave their homes forever, they traveled into Kenya. My mother and her mother, as well as the other women in their neighborhood, met the trains with food, blankets, water, and clothes. They did not know these people, but they understood the common suffering and took care of their community, regardless of their differences in nationality. They understood the gravity of the situation. A fool in charge, surrounded by sycophants, with a plan to undermine every single institution in the country for his and his friends' gain. He sold off businesses that had been abandoned due to the exodus and the jailing of the enemy, 2 senior army officers, traitors, who squandered it along with Uganda's economy away. There was no true opposition. There was no opposition party. And where there was, Idi Amin could not think of any other option but to use violence and slaughter them. I say all that to say this. The lessons of the past inform the actions of the future. I'm a proud first-generation American, the first United States citizen in my family, and a product of the American dream. I grew up in the shadow of the Capitol, right outside Washington, D.C., the seat of government that was a beacon to the free world that is now under attack, much like it was on January 6th, but now it's far less public, it's digital, and it's in the shadows. We've understood the gravity of the results of Election Day nationwide. The election of Donald Trump and subsequent enriching of oligarchs within our country, coupled with the violent rhetoric and action coming from this administration, can only be described as a mirror to my mother's experience in East Africa 50 years ago. A MAGA majority in both chambers of Congress with no interest in governance, only in being the chorus behind the chaos. When the rich wage war, it is the poor who die. And make no mistake, the rich are waging war on our country right now. And yet, after all that, the gravest threat to any of us is an unelected, unqualified, and as our friend Tim Walz called him, dipshit, in Elon Musk, who has been given unilateral access to everything. Unilateral access to the programs. Yeah, boo it up, yes! I want my Apple Watch to tell me we're making too much noise, all right? Unilateral access to the programs he has vowed to cut, like Medicare and Social Security, global security programs, and to steal our tax and financial data to do who knows what with his band of merry men who look like they got broccoli on their head. The gravest threat is the vanity project that is becoming a trillionaire at the expense of everyday, hardworking people who benefit and in some cases rely on federal programs. That's why those federal programs are there. The gravest threat is the expansion of an empire of riches on the backs of taxpayer money while our infrastructure crumbles and our children and neighbors go hungry.
That's right.
And now, our federal employees, the people who make this country run in the backgrounds, apolitically, in service to the people, are in a fight for their careers. As recently as yesterday, I received first-hand reports of trackers being installed on computers, AI monitoring emails, text messages, and chats for any possible opposition language. One of my friends was put on a watch list for donating to the Biden campaign and being a black worker at the CDC. Federal employees, like the one I just mentioned, being delivered pizzas they did not order as a way to say, hey, we know where you live. The only difference between here, in this moment, and in this country, and the experience my mother shared with me, seeing firsthand the effects of a violent, petulant dictatorship, is the will of the people to organize and fight back, and the existence of co-equal branches of government filled with people who have the will and determination to be the sand in the gears and to be the true opposition. We've made phone calls. We've visited offices. We've sent emails. There's been some progress, namely the 30-hour opposition to Russ Vought's nomination and subsequent confirmation. Our senators, Jack Reed and Sheldon Whitehouse, were on the floor during those 30 hours, and for that, we are thankful. It was a start. More. The purpose today, however, is to make the unequivocal demand that our senators use every single tool available to them to grind this unlawful, unconstitutional administration to a halt. To be the public opposition we as Rhode Islanders deserve. Let me be very clear in wrapping up. Our federal delegation will know that we support them in this fight, as evidenced by the turnout here today. We have their backs to go full steam ahead in bringing the full might of the opposition to the front lines, to lead from the front and influence their peers to step up and stop the madness. Capitulation, norming, and negotiation with those clearly intent on tearing up the Constitution is neutrality in the face of violence and oppression. And neutrality, my friends, always favors the oppressor.